So now you have diehard fans for the 5.56x45 and diehard fans for the 7.62x39. However, I see no reason why we can't just meet in the middle. What's up, guys? Skippy After Kindness here, and welcome back to another Cartridge of the Week episode, this week featuring the 5.6x39mm, or as it's more commonly known, the 220 Russian. Now, before we get into the history, specs, and all that good stuff, we will first do what we always do and take a look at the head stamp, which on the top we can see it reads Lapua for the manufacturer of the cartridge, and on the bottom it reads 5.6x39 for the caliber, of course, which it reading the 5.6x39 as opposed to 220 Russian actually tells us that we have a fairly early produced example, as Lapua would quickly change the caliber marking to 220 Russians. Now, the 220 Russian was developed by M.N. Blum in the USSR in 1955 and was intended to be a cheaper ammunition option for the hunting of small to medium-sized animals like, say, deer. The cartridge would be used quite extensively by commercial hunters throughout the 1960s to the 80s and wouldn't just stick to hunting, with plenty of competition rifles being made for the chambering, specifically for what's called the running deer match, which involves having a paper deer target run from one side to the other, and the shooter has a limited time to make the shot, which is then later scored. Now, there is of course plenty of different variations of the match and a little more details to it, but this is essentially the gist of it, and it was a fairly popular match, having been featured in the Olympics till around 2004. Now, the cartridge would not stick solely to the hunting and competition use, with the military also taking a look at the cartridge themselves, trying it out in a prototype bullpup automatic rifle, the TKB-022 PM5, which supposedly they actually sleeved a 5.45 diameter bullet for at least one of their experiments. However, the 220 would eventually be dropped from the military's gaze, as performance with it wasn't really what they were looking for. Now, as mentioned though, on the civilian market, the cartridge was actually quite popular, being chambered for a variety of different guns for both hunting and competition use, and it of course wouldn't stay in the USSR, becoming popular in plenty of other Slavic countries. Now, the round would soon find its way to the United States in 1965, which is where the 220 Russian name would first appear for the cartridge. And it appears that the only rifle chambered for the cartridge here in the United States would be made by Sako, as it's really the only thing that I could find that takes this chambering, at least in the United States. Of course, down in Russia, there are quite a few rifles that take this caliber, which, fun fact, a lot of these pictures that I'm showing with these Russian rifles, and actually a lot of the information in general I got for this video, I actually had to start just searching stuff in Russian and then translating the page to English, as guns like these pretty much don't exist here. And, I mean, there was like one picture of some, I'll probably post when I find it again, but there was a picture of a guy that had a biathlon rifle. That was the only picture I saw associated with any type of, English text forum. As per, the research portion of this video, well, to get a good idea of just how little info there actually is on this round, the Russian wiki versus the English one on the cartridge has like 5 times the information and way more images with it. In fact, you may Google and find, or on the English wiki, you'll see it says 1961. I'm gonna go off, well, not just the Russian wiki, I was going through their forums and stuff, but I'm actually going to go more off the Russian info. So if there is a confliction, with info between the English thing that you notice, that check the Russian pages, because that might explain the, kind of weird contradiction you'll find. Now, that being said, though, there, weren't too many people down here shooting the 220. There were plenty of people making wildcats using the casings. In fact, speaking of what I mentioned earlier on there being no info on this cartridge, you'll actually find more search results coming up featuring the wildcats made for this caliber. So now, obviously, this cartridge was never super popular in the United States, and today its popularity in Slavic countries like Finland and Russia has taken a drastic decline in usage since the early 90s, which is mainly in part due to the introduction of the 223 Remington, which tends to lose speed at medium to longer distances a lot less faster than the 220 Russian does. And not to forget, there's a higher variety on bullet selection with the 223 over the 220. So now, in the intro, I compared this cartridge as being a middle ground of the 5.56x45 and the 7.62x39. And for all intents and purposes, that's essentially what this is. The cartridge uses the 39mm casing from the 7.62x39 that's been simply necked down to a 223 diameter bullet. Now, on average, these feature a 54 grain bullet with velocities just under 3,000 feet per second, which, of course, if you know your 223 stuff, that's pretty darn close to a 223. But anyways, I think that is going to do it for this week's Cartridge of the Week episode featuring the 220 Russian. I hope you all enjoyed the video as much as I personally enjoyed making it, and I will see y'all next time.